I was having to think about my photos the other day, and I was thinking, where do they actually all live? Where do anyone's photos live? And the answer for many of us is that they sit on drives, they live on screens in our phones. They don't live as tangible objects most of the time. It's like photography stops at 95%. And the only way to get it to 100% is by printing them. Printing is finishing the creative process. It brings your photos to life. Unless you shoot film, I don't think you can recreate that feeling of getting your photos back from a lab. You've seen them before, you've seen them on a screen, and you've picked which ones to get. But I still think there is something in opening a package like this and pulling out a bunch of images that you've never seen physically before. There's just something about the smell and texture and feel of the paper. Screens are great, they're bright and they can make our images look really, really nice, but prints like this, prints just, they bring them to life. And there is a certain satisfaction being surrounded by your own prints and being able to look at them and say, I did that. It's fun to make things with minimal effort. You've already put all the effort into learning photography, getting the kit, getting out, taking a good photo. Printing is so low effort. You don't have to go to the extent of owning your own printer. There are so many easier ways to do it and still be able to have the same experience from printing your images. Towards the end of the video, I am going to outline a few simple practices you can do to get into printing and get the satisfaction from your photos that they deserve. There are so many different options for printing available to us now, and they can be as big or small as you like. This is probably one of the smallest options. It's a Fuji Instax camera, and although it gives tiny prints, they are still prints that feel and look cool, and when you have them around you, inspire you to shoot more. Then there's things like the Canon Selfie, which prints 6x4 photos, which are great for kind of pinning around your room and surrounding yourself with your work. Then you can move on to bigger printers, A4 printers, A3 printers, and then you've got the more pro level things like the A2 Canon Pro 1000 that I've got here. I've heard people say that can be seen as quite egotistical before to have your own images on the wall and you should have other people's images on the wall. And I'm kind of torn between, because my images represent a lot of work I've put into this. They represent a journey, and being proud of that and being reminded of that and being connected to that, I think, is so important as far as our creativity goes. If you're not going to put your own images on your own walls, then who else is? Printing small is also great to put images in journals, in scrapbooks and in albums. And I think creating that record of our journey in photography and being able to look back on it and how far we've come is so important to us. Now, when I'm printing bigger, I do use paper from Photospeed, and this video is not sponsored by Photospeed, but I just wanted to give them a shout out because they have been incredibly helpful and supportive to me while I've been going on this print at home journey. You can check them out below, and there's a discount code if you want to order any of their paper. If you've not printed before, I'd really recommend their test pack, which gives you a lot of different papers that you can try your images on and kind of work out which textures of paper look best with which types of images. Even just doing that in itself is a really good creative journey to go on, because it gives you a great insight into how your photos can look on these amazing different papers. But as I said, you don't need a printer at home to start, and it can actually often be more cost effective to get your prints printed and sent to you by a trusted lab. But whichever one you go for, just make sure you go for one of them and you print your work out. I think printing feels like you're actually making something and you've got something tangible. And I've noticed, certainly over the last 6 to 12 months, there's been more and more of a pushback against everything being digital. People are looking for physical things to have. So printing your photos is one of those great things you can do that doesn't quite cost as much as buying your entire music collection on vinyl. Now, there's loads of different options there, obviously, but I'd urge you not to overthink it. which is what I normally do. Don't worry about getting a Canon selfie or an Instax or a big printer or what type of paper you're going on. If this is new to you, or even if it's not, just pick 10, 20 of your favorite images now and send them to a lab and get them printed. So yeah, don't overthink it, just print it. As I have alluded to, our lives are fully digitized now, and the majority of our photos, or all of our photos in some people's cases, are just buried on one of these or one of those. Whilst this may seem safe and convenient, the reality is that our photos are barely seen. There isn't often the kind of intention at looking back on certain photos of certain times. Think back to when you were a kid and you used to get your old photo album out from a holiday you went on, and you could live through and experience the memory of that holiday again and again and again, and you could share that with the people that you shared that experience with. How often do you do that with a phone now? I'm guessing, well, never. Printing is the antidote to this. It gives your photos both a permanence and a presence in your life as well, without being hidden and forgotten. How you print doesn't matter, just that you do. Obviously, being able to print something like this at home is really amazing and exciting, but it is not an option for everyone. These are expensive, the inks are expensive, and for most people it's just not feasible. So use what is available to you. Like I say, print small if you want to, use labs, just make sure you do it, and don't wait for the perfect image to come along to do it. Just print the work that you are making on a weekly and a monthly basis, because that's where you'll see the real benefit of your photos coming to life in this way. People are often put off printing because it feels expensive and inaccessible, but if you do something like this, I can see why, but neither are true if you use the tools that are available to you. Even just going to your local supermarket and putting a memory card in and getting 30 prints off, it can be so easy to do. You don't need to pick the best paper and the best inks and the best lab. Just print the photo. So that's my case for getting your photos printed, and that printing completes that creative cycle. I think there is such an immense satisfaction of being surrounded by your own work, which can then propel us to be inspired to keep adding to it, to improve from it, and also to use it to, like I say, show how far we've come. Instagram's like the opposite of this, because everything lives digitally, and we often use it as a way of comparing ourselves to other people and other people's photography and other people's experiences as well. Printing changes that, because it gives us that platform to compare ourselves to our previous selves. I think that's the only comparison that anyone should ever be looking at. It's how you are now compared to how you were. And I think if you are continually printing your work, or if you go back and print some of your older work, you will see your evolution and growth in photography, and you'll see that journey you've been on. And I think there's a real, like I say, sense of satisfaction that comes from that. And I don't think there's any way of getting to that other than printing and living with those physical versions of your photos. And I've seen this in the coaching I've done as well. I've seen that when people start printing and living with their images, something shifts, something connects them more deeply with them, and it almost gives them a bit more belief and confidence in themselves, where they've come from and where they're going. I think it is so underrated, and I really hope that this inspires you to pick some images now, upload them, get them ordered, and receive those prints, because it is such a valuable thing. And please, if you are willing to do that, let me know in the comments below, because I would love more and more people to start printing and experiencing their work in this way. I said I'd give some exercises to do that can help you get into a bit of momentum with your printing and make sure it is something that becomes part of your creative workflow and gets your photography from 95% to 100%. And one of the first things I like to do is, after every kind of dedicated shoot or dedicated time out I have with my camera, I like to come home and just print 2 or 3 of my favorite images from that and put them up around me. Let them kind of live in my space so I can see them every day as they're supposed to be seen. In turn, that gives us more inspiration to go out and shoot, and it also gives us kind of a constant reminder of maybe things we could look to improve in our photography, or things that we'd look different as well, promoting that growth I spoke about. Something else I've really enjoyed doing this year is printing contact sheets of a number of images, and just the photos are a lot smaller obviously, but it helps us to see a bunch of our images in sequence and maybe understand them a little bit better and work out which ones you prefer and why. I love doing this on a sheet rather than on a screen because it takes you away from the screen for a start, which is what I'm trying to do more and more, but also, like everything else I've said in this video, it's just that feeling of having them in your hands. If you don't know how to make a contact sheet in Lightroom, I did explain it in the video up here, and I'll put the timestamp for it here. Another good exercise is to have a box of mistakes. Like if you print an image out and it's not quite right, or it's something that you actually decide you don't like anymore once you've printed it, don't get rid of it. Keep it in a box, and every so often go through this box of mistakes, and it again will remind you how far you've come, but it will also serve to teach lessons in your photography. And also maybe when you review it further down the line, you'll actually find something in there that you discarded initially, but now actually really like. I hope this video has motivated you to start printing. If you like hearing stuff like this, sign up to my newsletter below, and yeah, just print the damn photo.